How's everyone, Chris? Training-wise and fitness-wise, we've got two pretty big names coming back, haven't you?
Yeah, so you're talking about Harris and Robbo. Both those guys trained today, trained fully, no dramas, so they're available for selection.
Selection game plan, but how much is that decision going to be? Probably one of the hardest you make this year, how you fit Harris back into the back line.
Well, it's not a hard decision to put Harris back in the back line. The hard decision is who you leave out, because we've been, across the course of the year, a pretty consistent team, but our form the last 2 or 3 weeks has been really good too. So yeah, it's going to be a couple of unlucky players to fit those guys in.
How much will it be the makeup of the D's forward line in terms of the height and everything, and the matchups there in comparison to just who's the best player available?
Yeah, that will influence. We'll have a look at that. They've obviously got some tall lads up there. And got to make sure the matchups are right, and this can cover all contingencies. So we'll be doing the same as them, I suppose, making sure we've got the right guys in there to do that.
Is this as difficult a decision as you've had? Chris, we know Harris was out at the end of last year and came back to the final, but it seemed to be more straightforward the decision last year.
No, they're always difficult decisions if you're the coach, because you've got to go and tell the blokes who are out. So I never find that easy, but those decisions have to be made nevertheless, and it's not a bad problem to have in a sense, even though it's disappointing for the player who misses out or the players that miss out. Yeah.
Have you been encouraged by the younger guys in your team? Like last week we saw probably the guys on the edge, like a Kitty or a Jackson Ryan. Yeah, just that their form, that they probably, some of your younger guys are facing their
Yeah, and they're really important to us. We need them to play well in the finals. A lot of those guys you talk about have had invaluable experiences this year. They've probably played 10 or 15 games. You need your squad to go fairly deep to go deep into September. So the benefit of having a few more injuries than we've had in the past this year is the fact that those guys have got to play, and we're confident that they can stand up in finals pressure.
How much you?
I've enjoyed it now that I look back on it. At the time, you think, oh, not this and not that, and it can weigh on you. But I think overall, the benefits far outweigh the opposite for the experiences that we've had this year. So I would always feel that those little bits of adversity help you build resilience and stuff, which you need plenty of in finals when the best are playing the best. There's always moments where that gets tested. So good in that regard. I think so. I think I'd rather be in the situation we've been in this year than, have a situation where you've had a beautiful year, no injuries, everything's working magnificently, and you hit the finals and you get a couple of injuries, and then suddenly you go, oh, wow, that's going to be hard to deal with. We've had to do it on a number of occasions this year, so we're not fazed by it anymore as a club or a team, and the players within the team aren't either.
What's changed this year, Fagan, getting into the third as a coach of the finals, top of the side? Is there a different feeling, or do you feel better prepared?
I don't know, it's an interesting question. I see a lot of coaches being asked that at press conferences this week, especially ones that have been in finals a few times in the last few years. I think the experiences help you. It's just as simple as that. I think losing finals hardens you a little bit. I expect our players are, still disappointed over the last 2 years that whilst it was a great effort to finish top 4, we couldn't actually get to the big dance. And I think the other experience, the other thing that'll be good for them is that they understand that you don't think about the big dance, you just think about whatever final is you have to play in and try and get the best result you can, and then go to the next one and go from there. There's no fairy tales in final series. It comes down to hard work and who's in form at the right times.
Is there not a worry, but is there a thought sort of maybe it's our third in a row here, we need to win it this season, or is there like confidence that regardless of what happens this season, there'll be more chances as you go on?
You just got to keep knocking on the door and give yourself a chance. So I only see it as a positive regardless of what happens. I look to those great North Melbourne sides that Dennis Fagan coached. They made 7 preliminary finals. They only got to 3 grand finals and won 2 of them. So it's all about just giving yourself a chance and putting yourself into the position, and that's what the really good clubs do. Unfortunately, we've been able to do that for 3 years in a row. A club like Geelong's done that over and over and over again, but they've only been able to win one in recent times. And that's not a criticism. I 100% admire them for the fact that that's what they continue to do. They're very, very hard to win, and you need a little bit of luck as well along the way.
Were you able to sleep after Saturday night?
It was like the last 30 seconds was exciting. Like I just thought, we're going to win, but we're not going to win by enough. And I was sort of fairly calm. And then that point came out of nowhere, and then Charlie's mark and goal. The old excitement levels went through the roof pretty quickly. I tried to calm down pretty quickly as well, but no, it was one of those nights you'll never forget if you're at the ground or you're with the coach or you were a player. It was unique. I've never been involved in a game before where not only did you have to win, but you had to win by a certain margin, and that margin kept changing the more points that West Coast put on the board. It was a difficult challenge mentally for our players, and I just thought that we really stood up well. Halfway through the last quarter, we just played great team footy, and that's the reason why we got the result that we did, and we're lucky enough to be in the top four.
Do you harness that?
Oh, we always talk about week in, week out, how we play when we're under pressure, because that's what finals are, they're pressure. So yeah, we did talk about it, but no differently than we would talk about other weeks when we do similar things, but the stakes aren't so high, I guess.
Is the headset working?
Oh, I don't know. I watched that back and I thought, how embarrassing is that? It just happened, right? So I was just a bit excited and threw the old headsets over the shoulder. And
I want to ask you, the last time you played Melbourne didn't finish the way you wanted. I reckon it's probably a game you'd be desperate to have another crack at them. Not one series, you'd be desperate to have another crack at them, just considering how it finished.
Yeah, it was a really interesting game because we were the dominant team in the first half and probably didn't have as much of a lead as we should have for various reasons. And then they came out and did to us what we did to them in the second half. So I think both teams would have a healthy respect knowing that if we play at our best, we can trouble each other. So it'll be an interesting contest from that regard.
To round 11 and you show them the footage from the first half in comparison to the second half and show them what they essentially need to recreate for goals this time?
It was interesting. We did that post the review. The review post that game, we actually looked at our first half and said how good we were, and then looked at the second half and noticed things that we weren't too proud of. So I wouldn't show that again, but we've certainly talked about the contrasting first and second halves and what we learnt from the game. We did that in our meeting this morning, so the boys' recollection of it was really clear, so no need to go any further than that. Well, Charlie would probably want me to say he's attracted another 15,000 members, and all the crowds turn up now because he's playing. Look, part of what I just said is true. It's people like Charlie Cameron that play an exciting brand of football. They entertain the fans. There's never a dull moment with him. That's what makes him great. But the other thing about Charlie Cameron is, he brings a lot of pressure in our forward line and causes a lot of hesitation and fumbling in the opposition. And he can kick clutch goals. He can play with the ball in the air and when it hits the ground. So he's a good all-round performer, and he brings a lot of energy to the footy club during the week. You wouldn't see that side to him, but I can assure you that he does. And much of the laughter and fun that we have is Charlie's usually somewhere around being one of the instigators. So he's been great since he's been at the club, and can only take my hat off to him for what he's achieved in his career so far.
Could his history at Adelaide actually bring a few fans on your side for Saturday night?
I don't know. They might not like him because he left. It's hard to know, isn't it? I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know how to answer that question. Yeah, if they're football lovers, that'll probably turn them in our direction.
Chris, just on something for the network, would you be comfortable with the AFL mandating players get vaccinated to help avoid future lockdowns and border closures and everything?
Is that this year or next year?
Just in general, would you be comfortable with them mandating?
Into the future, yes. I I'm a little. I've had one of those vaccines and they had a few side effects for a few days, so I wouldn't like our players to be having them right now with finals on, because they can knock you around for a few days. But I think when the time's right, we should all get vaccinated. They've had some education around that last week. They're really clear on all the issues around vaccination. So I imagine that, and hopefully they'll all do the right thing when the time comes. Oh well, not specifically. I mean, he sort of looks like he could be a good finals player because he's got that speed and he can zig and zag through traffic and all that. But I don't think about Zac any more than I think of all our other players and how they can front up in finals. Some of them surprise you with what they can do, and I'm hoping that all of our guys will surprise and go to another level. Yeah, I like to think that we're an even group. Even if you look at we've had more average goal kickers every game than any other team. I like that because it means we've got lots of avenues to goal. We've got lots of players that have kicked high 20s, 30s, 40s, 40 goals. We got 5 or 6 lads sort of in the squad of 40 for the All Australian, which is just a reflection that we're an even group. And I think Zac and Stars got in the under 22 one as well. So yeah, we're building some depth, and you do that hopefully to become a team that when you're playing finals, it's hard for the opposition to work out exactly how to stop you. Oh, look, I've got an open mind on that because all year I've had no real expectation, knowing that things could change really quickly. So, it'll be great if we could play here again this year, but it won't be the end of the world. Most of us are probably, if we go deep into finals, are going to end up playing at neutral venues. So, from what we could see from yesterday, so that's just the way it is.